Welcome back to Loan Officer Success Live, and this is the Coach's Corner powered by Premier Lending. Your host, mortgage leader and business builder, Devin Dubuque, and the coach with the winning playbook, Rick Koenig. Together, they're bringing you real strategies, no fluff insights, and the exact steps to grow your mortgage business. Buckle up because this is Loan Officer Success Live. Coach, what's up, brother?
Besides technical difficulties, I think people just turn in to see what kind of hats we're wearing today.
I think that might be what it is, man. You know, we're going to create this the hat. We wear a lot of hats, right? So
Yep.
we'll just pop on each week to see what color hat, what style of hat that we're wearing, right? No, I think this week we had a great show, man. I think, this is the question that we keep hearing, all the time, right? And we're in a lot of different places. We've talked to a lot of different people, and it's what are the questions that every loan officer is asking right now, right? And Coach, when I talk to people out there, it's the same thing. They want to know about when the rates are going to come down, right? How do I get leads? Where is the market actually going? And today, we're going to tackle some of those topics. And I think the big one of those is when are mortgage rates going to drop, right? Coach, what's your theory on that? What are you thinking?
First of all, don't worry about when they're going to go down. We've mentioned this before where we've heard people talking about getting back to a normal market. Well, I'll tell you what, after 3.5 years with a similar market, we've been in a normal market for 3.5 years. Yeah. For a number of years from 2008 all the way up until, 2021, the government has messed with rates. They've messed with buying mortgage-backed securities, and they didn't allow the industry to follow its own trail. And so some of what you're seeing over the last couple of years is just getting back to normal. And normal used to be about every 18 months, you'd have a little up and a little down, and you'd be able to refinance, and rates stayed within about a 2% plus or minus range of top and bottom. And so I know early, this year, as of a few days ago, we were hitting the lowest rates ever. We might have a little blip for a few days because of the little incursion over in Iraq. And long term, people don't realize that's going to help us because now we kind of control the oil going to China and Russia. We also cut off the supply of missiles and drones to Russia and missiles. So that should mean the market, and I'm talking about the stock market, business markets, worldwide markets, should over the next few weeks really get comfortable with what the situation is in the world. And I think if the rates have popped back up here over the last few days, we're going to see them continue to drift. But most people's predictions were not lower than like 5 3/4 for all of this year. So,
well, that's where I was going to go with this. Is they've already dropped. They've already dropped, and I think that the problem is that people are waiting for that big low inflection. Hey, we're going to get back to the threes. Guys, that is not reality, right? That's never happened before. It was the right situation, right time, right place for it to happen. And what we know is the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate was about 5.98% in February 2026. That's the first time it's dipped below 6% since 2022. So rates have decreased. Right. In fact, rates peaked above 7% back in 2023 during the Fed's inflation flight. And Freddie Mac's telling us that we should look for average rates around 6.15, in 25, which is where we were, and expect to be rates around 6% through 2026. So we've already seen it. We've already seen the rate reduction. It's already happened. And what people want to happen, it's just not on the horizon in the near future. And I've heard some talk about it, right? A lot of people are like, hey, but the president's pushing for it. We're going to see it this year. I don't think that's the case, Coach. What's your thoughts?
Well, one is I almost hope it doesn't happen. You remember when they tried to help the car industry and they had cash for clunkers? What a disaster that was. First of all, they took off millions of good used cars. Those guys that traded those cars in, they literally had to send them to the junkyard and be smashed. They weren't allowed to resell them. So we took 1 million cars out of the market that people could afford. And then they sold the inventory that they would normally would have sold over a year's time. They sold it in like 5 months or 6 months, and then things went worse. So when the government sticks their nose in, it can be worse. I think a loan officer that just runs out there and does the basics, talks to their realtors, talks to their past closed loan database, advises people on what's best for them, or at least shows them ideas of, this is what I think might be, a good plan for you. Take a look at it and you let me know if we need to exercise it. And if having contacts with your people like that, you're going to, just like I know somebody in our company whose assistant picked up, it looks like 6 different deals that they are working on that are all refis from his past closed loan database.
Just from reaching out and communicating, right? Just from reaching out and communicating. And I think what you're talking about, Coach, is don't build your business around rate predictions, right? Mm-hmm. Build it around processes. At the end of the day, there's processes that you could be acting on right now that are going to put you in front of the people you need to talk to. And if you run around waiting for rates to come down, and this is what you're telling everybody, you're not going to find that business. If you talk about clients' personal situations and figure out what their goals and long-term, I guess goals are, right? You can determine how you can potentially help some of those people right now. And, one of the big places that I like to talk about with our teams all the time is that there are opportunities for cash out right now, right? There's a lot of folks out there that are hurting because inflation did happen and people ran out of savings. And at the end of the day, a lot of folks aren't looking at the mortgage as a way to get out of that problem because the rate may be in the 3s, right? But what we're forgetting, and I think this is the big elephant in the room, is that credit card debts are 25, 28, 30%. And as I like to say, that's mafia money, right? Like that's the VIG on the money. F you, pay me, right? Yeah. And they're going to get paid, right? They're going to get paid.
The VIG.
That's it. So we're not looking at the mortgage because we're looking at and saying, hey, look, but we've got such a low interest here. We have substantial interest on these credit card debts. And for the folks out there that are hurting, it's not everybody. There's people out there that are, the average consumer debt is about $100K, right? And the average equity in a borrower's home is about $300,000 right now. So why aren't we talking about leveraging the equity in homes to potentially help pay down these high interest credit cards and allow people some financial relief? Because when you look at the rate average between your mortgage rate and what you're paying on these insane credit cards, when you consolidate those together, your rate of pay goes way down and you're putting yourself in a much better financial position. And now you could free up cash that you could potentially use to buy down the mortgage by making principal reduction payments. And in a lot of these scenarios, we're helping people be able to pay off a house in 8 years and pay off all the credit card debt that they owe if they follow that plan and structure. So, ultimately follow a process. And that's what Coach is talking about. Reach out to the people in your network, talk about what they need. And if they don't need to do these things, don't do these things, right? Like we only want to talk about things that are going to make sense for the consumer. But if we're not having these conversations, or we're always putting a pin in it and say, well, when rates get here, we'll talk. Well, guess what? If rates never get there, you're never talking. And somebody else may plant that seed and plant that idea, i.e. the servicers, and eventually your client moves forward with them and you lose out on an opportunity altogether. So that's my opinion on it.
Oh, yeah. 100% right. Just it all comes down to communicating with realtors, communicating with borrowers, communicating with past borrowers. And even just talking and letting family and friends know what's going on, because when's the last time you said to your brother or like in my case, my daughter, or my son, hey, if any of your friends are, thinking about refinancing, or if they've run into a lot of debt and they've been in their house 5, 6, 7 years, have them call me, because I can have them talk to one of my loan officers that might be able to turn their life around. And I don't care if they have a 3% interest rate. And you know what? If they got a 3% interest rate, somebody just pointed out to me that somebody in my family, or 2 people in my family, have from 2.625 to 3% 30-year fixed rates because they bought in 2021 and one refinanced in 2021. And somebody said to me, why don't they use some of that equity and buy a second home right now, or
Okay, so we're going to get
start
into that.
building wealth? And
We're going to get into that. Yeah,
yeah,
that's 100%. That was where I was going with this next topic, because we could talk about this under a couple different pretenses. One of them is going to be the investment strategy, so I want to get into that. But the second question is should my borrower wait to buy? Coach, what's your thoughts?
No.
If somebody believes the rates might drop later this year, which you and I both think no, that's not going to happen, should they wait to buy? Does it make sense for them to wait?
No, because I'd say 90+% of the markets across the entire United States, the different MSAs, values are still going up. We do have some markets in Florida, Texas, a couple areas where, when things got so crazy in 2021 and 2022 that people were bidding $50,000 and $75,000, $100,000 over asking price. And so you were paying $600,000 for a $500,000 home down in Florida. And now those same homes are selling for $550,000. Well, guess what? If you would have paid market price back then, you would have had $50,000. You grew 10%, but instead you went over by 20%. And now you've only gained back in a few years half of that equity that you overbid by. So they kind of, use their equity backwards. But no, I wouldn't wait. I think the prices will continue to go up. And you know what it's like. The excellent houses in the excellent neighborhoods are selling like that still in almost every market. But
absolutely,
the homes that are trying to price at the top of the market that either need updating, remodeling, or they're in that second tier neighborhood, which is still a wonderful neighborhood, but it's a wonderful neighborhood at 50,000 less. Those are going to sell on the market till the people either drop the price or somebody finally says, I'm ready to, I can do that house.
Well, let's talk about a couple things here, because you were mentioning investment strategy, and I want to get into that. But the other thing I want to talk about is what typically happens, when rates come down, right? So first off, we've had an inventory issue. I think a lot of that's been straightening out, but there are still areas that have inventory issues. But homes appreciate, and homes will continue to appreciate. Now, again, we'll see some depreciation correction in certain markets, but most markets see a minimum of 5% per year. In fact, if you go back and look historically over the last 80 years, right, that's 8 decades, okay? We've only had 7 markets where homes have depreciated. Okay. So what does that mean, right?
Well, there's a caveat to that. In every one of those markets, the home prices came back and now exceed what they were.
No question.
And if they, even back in 2008 during the crash, if you owned, 3 houses in Florida and you could have afforded the payments on them, every one of those homes is double the value what it is now. And the people that gave up.
Well, and it compounds, right? It compounds because every single time that it appreciates, it's compounding from that appreciation each year. Mm-hmm. And that's why we say an average of 5%, because that does compound over time. And there's some markets where we've seen as much as a 10 to 15, almost 20% increase in 1 year. It's very uncommon, but it happens. So what we know is over the last 80 years, 7 markets, 77 years out of 80, we've seen appreciation in homes. That is one of the best potential opportunities you're ever going to find to watch your money grow and to grow wealth, especially when you can get into homes at a minimum investment, sometimes of zero out of pocket with certain loan programs. Okay. So if you could get into a program with zero money out of pocket and allow for the bank to purchase a home for you, in which it can grow in wealth by 5% each year, you're using the bank's money to start to accumulate wealth. Okay. And there are programs out there right now, like our AIM program, that allows for you to get into financing at a 1.5 below the market average. So it actually takes away the affordability issue. They do it with what's called a shared appreciation. But at the end of the day, it's shared appreciation on an asset that you didn't have before, especially if you're renting. So this is another great way. And we'll be doing a tech talk on that here in a couple of weeks. On the AIM program and how that can help benefit you. So look out for that one as well, right? But here's what happens. So homes appreciate. So the house that you're looking at purchasing right now is going to be worth more money in 12 months. So at the end of the day, if you're waiting for that to happen, the payment by the nature of appreciation will automatically go up even if the rates do come down. And the buyer who's smart that purchases now has the ability to get into the property before the home appreciates. Okay. And when the market changes, they can simply refinance, but there's more to it than that, because the person that waits, most likely when rates do come down, whatever that date is where it goes, boom, okay, we saw this massive change. you're going to have millions of borrowers that jump back into the market. And now all of a sudden, the same house that just appreciated over the last 12 months is now also going to have multiple bids, which means you're going to have to pay more to win the same house that you want right now. Okay. So now let's talk about the investment strategy. Investors right now are scooping up properties left and right. In fact, I just looked at statistics on this the other day, and we have seen that 30 to 34% of homes purchased in 2025 were from investors, depending on the market. Now, previous years, it was 20 to 22%. Why is it that 15% more investors are jumping into the market right now? It's because they can buy properties at a premium. Their homes are sitting longer. Clients are more willing to negotiate, which gives that investor the opportunity to scoop up homes while other people are not doing it. Okay. And why would they do that? Coach, you were just talking about, why would investors be buying properties right now?
I mean, right now, if you've got equity in your current home that you can tap into and you have that low interest rate on it, now you can go buy another property. And a lot of these new loan programs help you qualify based on what the rent on the property will be. So now you pick up a second home that you're renting out, possibly even turning a little bit of a profit on it and getting some cash flow. There are a lot of people that are using their equity in the current home and buying that new home, and the rental payment is covering that payment and the second mortgage payment or a cash out payment difference that they did on the first home.
That's right. So, and there's also some big tax breaks coming this year. And I'm not going to get into that right now, but you should look at this. If you're doing short-term rentals, like 100% depreciation inside of the first year. This is something that was recently passed. So go check out your tax laws and look at that as well. Because if you're thinking about buying investment properties or multiple investment properties, you could cash out of your primary. You could use that equity as down payment to purchase your other investment properties. And you can utilize the future rent to flow the income piece. You don't need W-2s, pay stubs to be able to qualify for these. It's what's called a debt service loan, a DSCR, and what they look is the debt service coverage ratio. Does the mortgage payment cover, is it covered by the future rents of that property? And if it is, or sometimes even if it's not quite totally covered, you can qualify. So you just get your down payment money, which you can pull from the equity of your current home, and then you could reapply that towards the down payment using a DSCR loan. And even if your income doesn't flow, it doesn't matter. You don't need W-2s or pay stubs or tax returns for these loans. It's just looking at the actual payment versus the rent that would be received. And if it offsets it, then you flow, you qualify. And it's literally that simple. So let's talk about this, because I know we had a few questions lined up and we're getting close to wrap up time for today. So how are loan officers generating business right now, Coach?
Well, a majority of them are doing the wait till the phone rings type thing. But the people that are actually doing business are meeting with their agents, going back over old pre-approvals, following up with anybody who's pre-approved right now. And, you know, I can say since probably 2000, 2001, since the rates, you know, started going back up in 2022, I know people that as much as 65% of their current pipeline is referrals from their past database. So if you're not touching your past database, you're not touching your past agents, even if you haven't done business with them for a while, give them a call, you know, just talk.
Did you say they're waiting for the phone to ring? Because last time I heard,
yeah, I know.
This is the amount of people that are calling you to ask about refinancing, right? Like it's not happening. Okay. So staying visible, you know, being out there, being in front of people. And that doesn't just mean things like this with social media, but that means being visible in your community, you know, going out and doing presentations, educating first-time home buyers, educating your agents, bringing new product solutions to your agents and your investors, right? We just talked about a DSCR solution that's great for investors. It's alarming how many investors don't even know that product exists, right?
Or the realtors.
And the realtors, a lot of the times, are the investors. And when they learn that you have these programs that will allow for them to leverage equity in one property to purchase 1, 2, or 3 more, it's mind-blowing. I had a conversation with one of our guys just yesterday. He had an investor that wanted to buy a house. Now, the problem was most of these programs want you to have a minimum loan size of $100,000. The house he wanted to buy was going to be $70,000. So this particular scenario, it wasn't going to work. But turns out, guy has a free and clear property that is one of his investments. So guess what? We're now cashing out on that free and clear property. We're giving him enough money to buy the one that he wanted to buy in cash. The remainder of that money, he's going to use as a down payment to go out and buy a second property. Now he's leveraged 3 properties that are all earning him equity off of one transaction because of an idea. So what are great loan officers doing to generate business right now? They're finding the niche opportunities in the industry to help serve their people and help them find ways to create wealth, because the wealthy are doing this stuff already. And if you want to join the wealthy and start growing your portfolio, you can leverage these programs, and you don't have to have a massive amount of income to do it. And if you already have equity in a property, you can use that equity to buy the next one.
And if you're looking for places to go where you can talk to people about this kind of stuff, and you have not been doing presentations, you haven't been doing meetings, what I would recommend is 4 things. One is your local board of realtors. When do they have meetings? Do they have a golf outing that you can volunteer and work at and be around realtors? Look for your investors clubs. There's a lot of investor clubs, or people that are buying rental properties. They have different names for the different organizations, but look for one of those organizations. And even if it costs a few bucks to join for the year and start attending these meetings and meet the people who the actual investors in the area. The third thing is you always have the the Home Builders Association, if you've got one in your area. If your company's not a member, find out if there's something you can do as an individual member, or some kind of smaller membership. And again, volunteer to work on different committees for different types of functions. Don't let them suck you in and use you up and just throw you out, but you have to go there intending to make relationships. You can't walk in the door and start asking everybody for business right away. And then so you got the builders, the realtors, the investors. I would also look for investment groups that meet, like some of these guys, the money gurus that want to manage your money, they'll have events that you can go to. Why not talk to that guy afterwards and say, hey, how many of your people have money that they could spend and buy houses if they didn't have to qualify, and the payment for the rent covered their monthly payment? You have a few people that might want to go out and buy some more properties and not liquidate any of your funds.
I'll tell you what, Coach, as much as I want to keep that thought going, we've got places to be, my man. So, hey, guys, we're going to keep back up on this topic next week. We meet on this channel every single week on Thursdays at 11:30 Central or 12:30 Eastern. So come back next week if you want to hear more, and go check out the channel. We've got all kinds of great content there. You can find us at Loan Officer Success Live, loanofficersuccess.live on the web, and that'll connect you to all of our different channels. We're on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So if you're already here, great, but make sure you subscribe to the channel and come back, because we're going to keep bringing great advice on how you can create success in your business, but also how you can create personal success. If you're a homeowner, consumer, investor that wants to learn how to buy more properties, come check us out. So we will see you on the next one. I'm Devin Dubuque.
Coach Rick.
You've been watching Loan Officer Success Live, where real strategies meet real success. Don't forget to subscribe now and share it with your teammates, and keep leveling up, because your next breakthrough starts here. If this fired you up, don't just watch success, go out there and build it.